the Book of Enoch is certainly an interesting read. The text itself dates back to 300 BC and is noted as being more of an ancient Jewish text, but does maintain a place in some modern Christian and Jewish traditions. Enoch himself, which the book is named after, is referenced in the Book of Genesis and is detailed as being an ancestor of Noah. One of the most prominent figures in the Book of Enoch are the Watchers, angelic beings described as being both the sons of God and the sons of heaven in chapter 7. Many believe that the Watchers, referred to as the Grigori in Enoch 2, were angels who watched over the human race and would serve as earthly guides for the very first humans. They were tasked with the observing of human development, but were restricted from interfering with mankind, regardless of how compelled they felt to do so. Enoch tells us in chapter 7 that human men and women had multiplied and that the daughters of man were beautiful and elegant. It's understood that their beauty was so great that they caught the attention of the Watchers, these sons of God, if you will. The Watchers conversed amongst each other in this chapter and decided to take the women for themselves, impregnating them with their seed, thus going against the intended purpose of watching and directly interfering with the life of mankind. The leader of these angels, known as samyaza, sometimes pronounced samyaza, tells the Watchers that they should reconsider their choice, and that it would be him who suffered for such a crime against God. However, the other angels wear him down and tell him that together they will face the punishment, and that they will each accept responsibility for any repercussions. It's noted in total that there were 200 of them, and together they descended upon earth to take the women as their wives. The Book of Enoch even names the prefix of the Watchers here, each of whom would teach the mortal women sorcery, incantations, and the dividing of roots and trees. What's implied here is that the Watchers divulged information about the heavens and life itself that God had not intended for man to know, and so by doing this, the Watchers not only betrayed God by copulating with his creations, but also by corrupting them with knowledge that was not meant for them. The women then gave birth to the children of the Watchers, and what they spawn are essentially a hybrid of angel and human, the Nephilim as they are sometimes referred to as. There is some debate as to what the Nephilim are, but when we look at Genesis 6, 1-4, it tells us that the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God, which we might say are the Watchers, went to the daughters of men and had children with them. The Nephilim are also described as heroes of old and men of renown. However, in Enoch, the spawn of the women are known as giants, and that these giants began to consume all that man had built. The giants, or Nephilim, then began to kill man, and when they were tired of that, they began killing each other. During this chaos, we learn in chapter 8 that an entity known as Azazel, who is presumed to be a watcher, teaches man the use of swords, knives, and warfare, much as the Watchers taught mankind the secrets of heaven, incantations, and sorcery. Azazel also teaches mankind the use of paint, stones, and dyes, so that man can manipulate the world and alter it. In 8.2, we learn that these acts by Azazel caused impiety to increase, fortification multiplied, and that these transgressions corrupted all of man's ways. The rest of the chapter tells us that the other Watchers taught mankind astrology, signs, astronomy, and that with their presence, men were destroyed and their cries reached the heights of heaven. In chapter 9, Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel looked down from heaven and realized what was going on earth. In this chapter, they go before God and seem to pin most of the blame on Azazel, saying, "You have seen what Azazel has done, how he has taught every species of iniquity upon earth, and has disclosed to the world all the secret things which are done in the heavens." They also blame samyaza, saying he has taught the mortals sorcery, and that he and his Watchers have copulated with the women, creating ungodly giants. They ask God what he will have them do to bring restoration upon earth. In chapter 10, God then sends Uriel to seek the son of Lamech, which is Noah, and tells him to conceal himself, and to explain to him what is about to take place, in that all of the earth shall perish in a flood, and that everything which has come to be will be destroyed. He tells Uriel to tell Noah how to escape the flood, and how it is his seed that will remain in all of earth. God then tells Archangel Raphael to bind Azazel by hand and foot, and to cast him into the darkness by opening the desert, which is in Dudael, a region of the underworld. He tells Raphael to throw upon him pointed stones, and to cover him in the darkness, so that Azazel will remain there forever, devoid of all light. On the great day of judgment, God is set to task Raphael with casting Azazel into the fire. God tells Archangel Gabriel to destroy the Nephilim, the giants, or the offspring of the Watchers, by turning them against one another. He intends for them to perish by mutual slaughter. God finally tells Archangel Michael to confront the leader of the Watchers, samyaza, and to tell him that he and his allies who had fornicated with the women, that they are polluted, and that their sons, whether their own angelic sons or the sons they had fathered with the mortal women, will be slain before their eyes for 70 generations. Then, after witnessing the butchering of their offspring, they will be taken to the lower depths of hell, where they will meet fire and be locked away forever. By chapter 12, we are told that Enoch was engaged by the Watchers, and that they called him Enoch the scribe. It appears that God tells Enoch to relay his message to the Watchers, that they will never ever have peace as a result of what they have done. There seems to be an inconsistency here, because Archangel Michael would have no doubt already done this, as God had asked him to do so in the previous chapter. It could be that Enoch is told to do this so as to exemplify God's message, in that the Watchers are being told by both the archangels who are above them and by the mortals who are beneath them. By having Enoch tell them their fate, it shows the Watchers that they are no longer above mankind in God's eyes, for they are being told their fate by a man, thus putting them on the same level and maybe even above them. In chapter 12, 5-7, he states, "Then the Lord said to me, Enoch, scribe of righteousness, go tell the Watchers of heaven, who have deserted the lofty sky and their holy everlasting station, who have been polluted with women, and have done as the sons of men do, by taking to themselves wives, and who have been greatly corrupted on earth, that on the earth they shall never obtain peace and remission of sin. For they shall not rejoice in their offspring, they shall behold the slaughter of their beloved, shall lament for the destruction of their sons, and shall petition forever, but shall not obtain mercy and peace." In chapter 13, it's interesting that Enoch only seems to confront Azazel, the apparent main culprit in all of this, despite the leader of the Watchers being samyaza. It's possible that while samyaza only sought to fornicate with the women and share some secrets of the heavens, he did not share the malice that Azazel did in teaching men about warfare. Notice, Azazel does not appear to take interest in the mortal women, but seems only intent on teaching man about swords, knives, and the altering of the world, which was already designed perfectly as God intended. In chapter 13, 4-5, Enoch states that he speaks to all of the Watchers together, and that they all became terrified and trembled. He goes on to say that the Watchers begged him to give God their regrets and their repentance for what they had done, because they themselves could no longer ascend to heaven, nor bring themselves to look upon the skies out of disgrace. So Enoch prays for them until he falls asleep, only for him to have a dream and vision of punishment, and that he is told to reprove the Watchers by telling them of what he saw. Once he awakens, he approaches them and relays them of his dream, reprimanding them for what they have done. In chapter 14, Enoch explains that when he spoke, he was speaking with the word and voice of God. In this voice, he tells them that they will not be granted forgiveness as they had requested, and that they will never be allowed into heaven again, and that they will be bound to earth for as long as the earth endures, never knowing of peace. The fate of the Watchers, though, doesn't necessarily feel complete. We understand that they were bound for 70 generations under the earth, and will remain there until the day of judgment, where they are to be cast away into the lowest depths, to burn in the fires. By this logic, some would therefore believe that the Watchers are still there, underground, imprisoned at the bottom of the earth, waiting to be cast into the fires of hell in the end times. We actually get a glimpse of where the Watchers may have been banished to in Enoch chapter 21, where we see Enoch get something of a personal tour of the heavens and other otherworldly areas in the universe. In 21:2, he states, "And there I beheld neither tremendous workmanship of an exalted heaven, nor of an established earth, but a desolate spot, prepared and terrific." By 21:5, Enoch tells us that he beheld the operation of great fire, blazing and glittering, in the midst of which there was a division. Columns of fire struggled together to the end of the abyss, and deep was their descent. In 21:6, Archangel Uriel, who accompanies Enoch through this terrible place, asks him, "Why are you alarmed and amazed at this terrific place, at the sight of this place of suffering? This," he said, "is the prison of the angels, and here they are kept forever." While the Watchers are never specifically mentioned here, one can imagine that this would be the sort of place that God would keep those that had betrayed him, in a place of suffering. In the second book of Enoch, we see a collection of stories that sees Enoch ascend through several layers of heaven, but it is at the fifth heaven that Enoch discovers the Grigori, a race of angels that were human in appearance, their size greater than the greatest of giants, but their faces withered and their expressions silent. This layer of heaven was also the least magnificent out of all the layers that Enoch had seen thus far, which he described as having no service. It's understood that the Grigori in this text of the Book of Enoch 2 are actually the same as the Watchers in the Book of Enoch 1. Enoch asks the angels who accompany him through the heavens who the Grigori are, to which the angels reply that the Grigori were once led by a prince named Satanel, and that they, like the Watchers, went down to earth against God's wishes, took the women on earth and had their way with them, and caused chaos with their offspring. What's striking here is that their leader is not noted as being samyaza, but instead Prince Satanel. This is not explored further, but there are those that believe that based on the similarity of the name and the role in which Satanel takes, that this is a form of Satan himself. Reasons that support this include that in chapter 29 of the Book of Enoch 2, Satanel is mentioned again along with his angels as being cast out from a great height. Similarities can be drawn between Revelation 12:9 in the Bible, where Satan is cast out of heaven and therefore a great height, as it reads, "Satan, who deceives the whole world, was cast to earth, and his angels were cast out with him." Furthermore, in the same chapter, it's understood that Satanel attempted to place his throne higher than the clouds above earth, that he might become equal to God's power. This reminds me of Isaiah in 14:13, where Isaiah appears to be addressing Satan, quoting him as saying, "I will ascend to the heavens, I will raise my throne above the stars of God." Of course, you may also consider this to be coincidental, and not exactly evidence for the linking of Satanel to Satan. In any case, Enoch proceeds to pray for the Grigori, but is quick to understand that they are damned, and that God's contempt for them is absolute. He is noted as intending for them to be buried underground forever and ever. Enoch also notes that at some point, the Grigori break into song, and that their voices carry up to the Lord in a pitiful fashion. It shows us that the Grigori are now withered and broken, that they cannot even sing convincingly enough to warrant God's attention. The fact that they try to sing at all might show us that they have remorse and sing out of desperation in the hope that God will free them from their bounds. Additionally, you might also say that the lack of conviction in their voices is a sign of their disingenuity, that they are not sorry and are only appeasing to God so as to attain egress. It goes without saying that the lore around the Watchers is fascinating and helps to provide a compelling narrative, despite being a non-canonical text. The story, despite being thousands of years old, is sown with several themes of betrayal, morality, desire, and ambition, and helps to convey another perspective of how sin purged the world. It also provides another layer as to why God might have destroyed the world with the flood, so as to rid the Nephilim and to cleanse the land, which had been corrupted by the Watchers. It also gives us some more intriguing and profound characters to examine, such as Samyaza, the leader of the Watchers, who understood his duty and intended to stick by it, only to succumb to the peer pressure of his companions and surrender. It also gives us Azazel, the Watcher who appears to take the most blame for the incident, and shows us the extent of his wickedness, that he sought to teach man about weapons and warfare in a time when it was not needed. We are also treated in this text to comprehend the power of the archangels, such as Gabriel, who is sent to destroy the Nephilim, and Raphael, who directly opposes Azazel and defeats him. In essence, you might say that the first chapters of Enoch tease us with the concept of angels fighting angels, and serves to show us the potency of evil, that it can corrupt even those born out of goodness. But do let me know your thoughts in the comments below about the Watchers, and whether you have any more stories about them from other religious texts. Do you think that these sorts of texts should get more attention, and perhaps even be taught as doctrine, for the lessons that they contain? Let me know also what sort of videos you'd like to see next on this new Angels and Demons series. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon to keep notified. Until the next time, guys.